Hello and welcome to Portal Stormer, and this video is called The Path of the Portal Stormer, and it's about the challenges and rewards of navigating the different realms of mental health. So we're going to start with this first section, which is called The Call to Adventure. And it's the concept of different mental afflictions and anomalies as realms, and my definition of what it means to be a portal stormer. So it's a glimpse into the unique challenges and the rewards of navigating the different realms of mental health and spirituality, using storytelling and other modalities to share with others to enhance healing and growth for yourself as well as others. But it's also about discovering your own mythology, which I've found fascinating, because learning to understand who you are, where you were, and where you're going is really important. And using all these different modalities is a fun way to flesh it out and to figure out who you are. But it's also about the thrill of exploring the unknown and bringing back the holy grail from the soul in order to enlighten others, and why we needn't waste our time with the naysayers who aren't ready to heal. So we're going to be looking at here, I'm going to be sharing my journey as a portal stormer and how I've navigated the realms, which include astral traveling, sleep paralysis, recently discovered ADHD, which explains a lot in my life, a complex post-traumatic stress disorder due to an alcoholic mother who was also a narcissist, daydreaming, disassociation, avoidant behavior, which is something I didn't know that I was doing a lot, but it turns out I was. Blocking people means you block everybody, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Meditation, how that's a really great portal, a great way to explore who you are, but also to deprogram, because you don't have to load up the visualization all the time because our brains are always busy. Dream analysis, which is really important, even though people will tell you they're nothing. When you start analyzing your dreams and understanding your personal mythology, the symbols and the things that trigger you, they are reflected in your dreams because they're working themselves out in the subconscious. So during the day, it's the conscious mind that dictates how things go, but it's I just realized my glasses again. I always do this. But analyzing your dreams shows how you internalized everything and how it informs who you are as a person. Anyway, I could go on and on about that. But dream analysis is something that's been really useful for me. Journaling, of course, and I've only recently, in the last couple of months, realized how important journaling is. It's like taking stock of what's going on, how you feel about things, and then you can pave the way forward a lot better than when you're just fumbling your way through. And also other forms of writing like journaling, well, I said journaling, but also poetry and fiction, even non-fiction. But I call it psychological splintering because it is something that filters throughout our life, and it can either make or break us. So that's some things that I've been dealing with in my life. I will mention there too things like HSP, being a highly sensitive person. I've been like that since I was a baby, I think. So it's really interesting how the depth of what happened to me was really strong, whereas someone else who might not have been a highly sensitive person might have gotten over it quicker. The sleep paralysis with the hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations, whether I'm going into sleep or coming out, I can be seized in my body and see things and hear things and feel things. I will be talking a lot more about those in another video. And of course, like a lot of us, depression and anxiety. And what I wanted to share here is my esoteric profile. I am a Virgo, born in September on the 5th, but my ascendant is Gemini, and that's usually how other people see me, how I come across. And a little story about that: once I got on a train, I was in a hippie phase back when I was 19, 20, and I was jumping on the train to go into Melbourne. This is when I lived in Australia, and a guy came up to me and says, "Hey, I bet you're a Gemini." And I was just thinking, oh my God, this is a creep. What does he want? And I said, no, I'm not actually. I'm a Virgo. And he looked almost hurt, and he said, no, you're a Gemini. And I had to tell him I don't know how many times. And then I found out quite a while later that I do have a Gemini ascendant, so that was interesting. I'm also going to go on to explain the other astrological associations I have, which is in karmic astrology. My south node is Scorpio, so that's where I'm coming from. If you believe in reincarnation, then the life that I led and the forces I was dealing with, and probably also inflicting on other people, was the Plutonian fires of Scorpio, even though I don't think Scorpio is a fire sign, but it was definitely, I can feel that heat and still dealing with that fire. But I'm heading towards my north node, which is Taurus. And I do have a lot of Taurian energies. I am an earth sign after all, but it's interesting understanding that just as an overview of my life, that I'm coming from a fiery time heading off to a cooler, calmer time, and I'm paving those stones myself. So, and here I wanted to share the different metaphysical associations I have. This is another way of fleshing out your mythology and figuring out who you are. With the numerology, I am a numerologist, and I am a 9 destiny, and that association with tarot is the Hermit, and I've always felt an affiliation with the Hermit, and my personality is governed by the number 5, and the tarot association for that number is the Hierophant. So I do feel like there have been a lot of times in my life where I've been both those at the same time. I think that's what's carried me through life. Yes, I withdraw, but people come to me a lot, whether it's for advice, like in my work, that's what I do, or people just love to tell me their stories. When they meet me, straight away people just trauma dump, and I guess it's because I'm a good listener, and I am a vault. If you tell me a secret, I'll keep it to myself. But there's another side to me that just wants to escape from it all, and I'm battling with that and doing a lot better, especially this week. As another video, I'm going to talk about how I'm opening my heart and how I've developed some compassion towards my mother without feeling that I'm taking away from myself. But anyway, that's a side thing. In Chinese astrology, in 1966, when I was born, it was the year of the horse, and the element was fire, and I identify very strongly with the fire horse and have been using it to help burn away the residue of the lower self. I have to be careful not to engage with the fire horse when I know I'm already in a temper, because that's something that I've learned. Wow, if you're already fired up and you think, let me harness the energies of the fire horse, it can be combustive. But other modalities in the metaphysical realm that I enjoy playing with is path working, creative visualization, and meditation to help visualize the things that I want to be, do, or burn off, or whatever. Numerology, as I mentioned, I use that a lot. It's fascinating. Numerology can be a more stock standard, here's just the facts ma'am kind of fortune telling, but it's amazing how when I look back over my life now, I've been doing it for over 30 years, numerology, but just seeing the things that I thought at the time, yeah, right, and when I look back now, it's amazing how many things panned out. Paganism, of course, I'm a witch. I call myself a hedge witch. Tarot, I play with the tarot a lot. I like to, again, test it just like I do with numerology, coming back after the fact and seeing, well, did that pan out? It's interesting how that works. Trance work, I haven't done that a lot recently, but it is something I can do to the point where it's quite shocking, meaning dropping into a trance and watching someone and actually just focusing on third eye, and then seeing things, whether it be who they were in a past life. My first boyfriend, I saw him regress to an ape, and it took 20 minutes for me to not see the ape on him. It's something I want to get back into, especially with mirror work, but you know, that'll happen one day. Astral projection, I haven't done a lot lately, but it is something I've done and do really well. It can be quite shocking. Again, that's going to be included in another video where I'm really going to go deep into the sleep paralysis and the trance work and the astral projection, the dream interpretations and other interesting spiritual or mystical experiences I've had that have really informed not only who I am but how I understand the world. So they're the metaphysical associations that I've also incorporated into building my own mythology. And now we're going into the next part, which is about becoming a portal stormer. And this isn't like a video game, although I'd love to create a video game on my Storming Archives fantasy series. I've decided that with being a portal stormer, different experiences and modalities and desires and things in our life are just like portals. When we're going to work, that's a portal. When we're going to visit family, that's a portal. Going to a party, exploring this, watching that, whatever it is we're doing, we're entering portals. And I found that when I started thinking like that, then I was able to shut one off while I dealt with the other. I think oftentimes when we travel through life, especially if we're dragging our knuckles and just doing it to pay the bills, we see everything as mixed and blended and everything's a pain. We do have our places to withdraw to, and then we understand that's the safe place and that's not. But oftentimes when experiences and things happen, if you're in a funk, you think it's all a big grey mess. So what I wanted to do here in this video was to share, you know, how to see the forest and the trees at the same time. If some people can't do that, but if you can be in but not of and just float above the situation, assess what's going on and understand that, yes, as a whole, it looks like this is happening, but really it's just these two people or that situation or whatever. How to maintain a solid focus for when things such as overwhelm and analysis paralysis creep in. It's really important to always withdraw, pull back, even if you have to excuse yourself and say, I'm going to the bathroom, just to have that moment where you can regroup and figure out the next step. How to navigate others' negative reactions to your taking charge of your mental health. It's amazing how many people, when they see that you're doing better, they have to try to niggle at you or pull you back down because they're probably acting out of fear that you're going to up and leave them because you're getting better. That happens a lot with family. So it's important to always just be still in your own truth and just repeat to them, I'm doing this for me. You can do whatever you need for you. But if you're not going to support me while I'm healing, then I'm sorry, you'll just have to step back for a minute. It's really important to develop those boundaries. Letting people know you're taking charge of your mental health, and it's a good thing. So anybody negating that needs to be questioned. Another thing to be taken into consideration is religious considerations. Oftentimes, when you're seen as dabbling in something that they might deem as demonic or whatever, it can hold you back and thwart your growth. And I'm not saying that you have to sidestep your religion, but there's nothing wrong with just exploring other modalities and seeing what works, because we're all different people, no matter the background or religion. And you're an individual person. You come into this world alone, you go out alone. So I really do believe that you get to dictate how you help yourself. And of course, like I said before, family pressures and sometimes possibly alienation from the things you once held dear. You can choose to stay in a situation just to appease other people, but oftentimes that will blend into resentment and bitterness, which can be just as ugly as the supposed alienation. So what I want to do now is talk about the Storming Archives, which I realized I had channeled a lot of my experiences and feelings, as authors do. But I wanted to share the galaxy that I created for the Storming Archives, which includes Earth. And in the Storming Archives, it's known as Kendanerum. And the different realms include Nidar. Right down the bottom there, you can see that is like hell. But Nidar is really not just a place where evil souls go if they've done evil in the world. But it's also where you go to face your last sorrow, where you go to test your mettle. Because with Delwyn, when she goes through and finds out that she's a portal stormer, before she can go on to do the mission that they've been tasked with, which is to save Kendanerum from the founders, who are coming to destroy the galaxy because it's a failed experiment, pretty much blamed on humans. She has to go through Nadar to test her mettle to make sure she's up to it when it comes to the good fight, which comes much later. But anyway, there's also Alethea, and that's the name for Earth. That's where Delwyn is from, of course. Delwyn is a character I based on myself. I'm going to be talking about her in a minute. But Akasha, which if you know anything about that, it's like the Hall of Karmic Records. It's also like, it's considered in the Storming Archives as like a depot, as a place where visiting people come to learn about the galaxy, but also who we are as the residents of Kendanerum. And above there is the Seven Heavens in Soulstorm, which is book 4 in the Storming Archives. The portal stormers have to go through the Seven Heavens to speak to the Godhead, but of course you'll need to read the books to learn more, or at least listen to the podcast I started on serializing the stories. Next to Alethea, we have Meditar, which is the realm of meditation. So meditating minds come from all over the multiverse to go there, to race minds with each other and to learn things about themselves and all the worlds around them. One soul is actually the dream world, and that's where Varun, the half seahorse, half man creature, is the guardian. I'll be talking about him in a sec too. Alu's soul is the realm of hallucination, and you go there, or minds who are hallucinating go there, but then there's a lot going on in that place. Delwyn ends up having to go there to meet Pasithea, who is of course the mother of Morpheus, and it's really fun. I really would love you to read the stories because I just went mental on them. And Arankaran is the animal heaven which humans are not allowed to enter, and that is a realm that's explored in the 3rd book in the Storming Archives called Totem Shift. And so they're all the realms, and I made them realms even though they're technically based on thought or sort of different areas of the mind, and whether it's dreaming or meditating or hallucinating or thinking we're going to hell or heaven, but also the Akashic records in Akasha, as well as Arankaran, where the animals go. And a little side note, the reason why I made a separate animal heaven was because I thought humans don't deserve to have animals in spirit form, because it's almost like the animals escaped us and now they've got a safe haven for the rest of eternity. So but you'll need to read the books. I'm sorry, you just have to. So these realms, of course, help the stormers. They go to all these different realms and they learn more about themselves and start honing their skills and building their superpowers as portal stormers. to a life map that I put together, just like a timeline. And I'm not going to read out every little section, but this might be useful for you if you wanted to get a grip. Who was I again? Because when you see it at a glance, it's just like looking at a spreadsheet when you're looking at data. You can see information and everything falls into place. It's easier to see the patterns. I'm going to be, for myself, fleshing this life map out even more, because as you can see, there's 10-year increments, because, you know, if you go on forever, I'm going to write my memoir anyway. But the good thing about this, I can see, and I put little pictures in there to remind me of what I look like in that era. So I can see the flow. And of course, it's 2025 now. It's not 26, of course, so I couldn't do that 10-year. But as I've said here, watch this space. I think it's really fun to do this, but also helps keep you in check if you're interested. I know it seems like navel gazing, but that's what this video is all about, being a portal stormer and actually delving deep so that you can bring all that knowledge back and discover who you're actually meant to be. But also, writing your own mythology is a good way for confidence, especially if you have been going through some dark stuff, just reminding yourself who you are and who you're meant to be. So here I'm going to start talking about the different characters to give you a glimpse into how I injected myself in there and how they continue to help me, almost as if they're pretend friends. I know I'm not nuts, but not 100%. But Delwyn, of course, is number one. She's the person who is more about me. I injected a lot of myself in her. She's my alter ego, who's the protagonist in the Storming Archives. And she's based on me and the various mental and spiritual elements I've dealt with, which include sleep paralysis, astral projection, lucid dreaming, shape-shifting, escapism, and CPTSD, psychism, because I do have psychic powers, my husband tells me, and there have been some incidences which I will talk in that magical, mystical video I'm going to do. And of course, there's many more. But Delwyn leads the Stormers through countless adventures across the multiverse. She goes through a lot. She starts off, she's a mess, but she gets less of a mess as she goes through the stories. The next one, of course, is Varun. I created him out of my own brain. When I first thought of him, I was trying to find images on the internet at the time. It's around 2013. I couldn't find half man, half seahorse creatures to get an idea to start creating my own creature. So I ended up having to cobble together a mock-up to send to a lady I work with, Mara, on Fiverr, and she created him for me. And Varun is the guardian of one soul, which, as I said, is called the dream world. And while Varun guides dreaming minds to achieve the integration of the true self, the Ural of one soul is Morpheus, of course, the god of dreams. And I used the word Ural. I used Google Translate to create the names for some of the places and characters, just FYI. But it's been said that Varun appeared around the same time as humans on Earth, of course called Aletheia, when dreams first began. So the collective unconscious evolved with Varun overseeing our dreams until his lord Morpheus took his rightful place. So now Varun leads the portal stormers all across the multiverse, from the inner realms to the outer worlds and beyond. And of course, I've used him as the mascot for the channel. I just love Varun. Prem Lus. Now, two heads are better than one. Prem is the body and Lus is the entity living on Lus's planet head. And they hail from Dinkray, a planet born from worlds colliding outside of a black hole. Worlds within worlds begat multiple universes, and the Dinkranians were sucked into the vacuum, emerging on the other side with planets for heads, each complete with their own entity. A Dinkranian cannot survive if their entity passes away, as they live as a unit and have to work together to stay alive. Prem is the emotional one, even though he can't speak. Lus speaks for him. But Prem often writes his heartfelt notes to share with the other portal stormers. Prem Lus represents the battle for me between head and heart. And again, another character I created trying to find, has anyone else done it? At the time, they hadn't. So again, the mock-up looked a bit nuts when I sent it to Mara, but she was able to come up with this rudimentary drawings, but I've just maintained them because I just love them. And this is Fleet. Fleet has compassion with a laser focus. He hails from the planet Swain, and he's able to explore others' thoughts, emotions, memories and motivations through his third eye, which is also his weapon if others prove to be false or dangerous. The Swainians were rarely black, they were all colours of the rainbow, but they were humanoid and had third eyes, although they had different powers. Some could only see anger or happiness, love, despair or other emotions, but only one thing for each being. Fleet was unique as he was considered what Alethians would call challenged or special, and he was ostracised by his family, his community and society as a whole. And just as a side note, Fleet can see all emotions. That's why, another reason why they were funny towards him, because he didn't just have the one power, he could do everything with his eye. But Fleet represents my compassion and my silly side, because he can be silly, and my laser focus. Program created for the enjoyment of the uber rich, and they were humanoid beings on the planet Saturn, who wanted to travel to all the realms, but they couldn't, so they invented Drade and her kind to use like a suit or vehicle. The program wrapped itself around the being, snug like a stocking. Then they could go out to any of the realms, but it backfired as they somehow brought terrible things back with them. Right before they cut the program forever, the alignment happened and Drade came through with the other portal stormers to learn of her fate to join the fight for Kendanerum. Drade has the biggest heart of all the stormers, since all she thinks about is finally joining the species she adores, humanity. Drade represents my desire to be normal in an abnormal world. And Persula, a flash of anger, and then the retreat. She hails from the world called Felon, which is a place much like Earth but far more civilized, with an intimidating army. Persula comes from an aristocratic family, and her mother wanted her to grow up and become absorbed in the sheltered society her family belonged to. Her fathers had all gone off and joined the military, following in their father's footsteps, so Persula snuck away and joined the military forces, where it was discovered that she had the power to astrally project. Persula represents my dark side, dealing with meanness, bitterness and resentment. She's also the snarky side and always lashing out and then retreating to lick her wounds. So while she's not that admirable in the Storming Archives, she does come to quite a few times and realizes, but it's interesting her trajectory and how that's also helped me understand how rage can really blowtorch a path you don't want. Let's just put it that way. So now we're going on to talk about playing with the portals. So what I wanted to start off with is talking about knowing when it's time for action rather than navel gazing, and how to keep a leash on your mental afflictions where needed. That's really difficult when you're in a situation and you're being reactionary. But again, like I said before, it's best to, if you know I'm going to lose it, excuse yourself, do whatever you do, and if you can't get away, clamp up and just focus on your own thoughts. But understanding how you feel, how you react, really does help how you continue to act out there in public. And when you're going through stuff, navel gazing's great in order to understand yourself, but sometimes you can go down rabbit holes that take years to get out of and you still haven't healed. So that's why I wanted to mention that. And as I mentioned before, masking mental illness with religion, medication or magical thinking, and how it can be harmful when only the symptoms are addressed rather than doing a deep dive into the darkness. And I talk about that in other videos too. when we shun the darkness and just pretend and just try our best to be light and not understand what it is, what drives us to be dark or evil or mean or whatever, we never fix the problem. So it's really important to make sure we've got ourselves in order, or at least have a good understanding about who we are and how harmful we can be when we are being so negative. It's important to know thyself, and it's also important to determine what triggers you, in contrast to new knowledge that you might not have taken into consideration. So you might have things triggering you that might not need to, because you're still operating on old knowledge. Easier said than done. But understanding how to avoid them and how to react to them when you have to is important. It's important also to play, use your stories, no matter how dark. Sometimes a lot of good can come out of it, whether it's art, literature, music, or even developing courses or workshops or forums where others can share their stories is a good way to play with the portals, because we're all learning and we're all evolving, but it doesn't mean we just put it in a journal, clamp it shut, and then go on and continue being a bookkeeper or whatever it is because, oh, well, that's my job. I think it's really a good idea to try to allow some of the stuff to flow into your life and then to unearth things that you might not have been privy to before. I didn't know I really enjoyed doing that. I could do that for a job, and so on and so forth. Now I wanted to go on and just talk about the other modalities that might be fun to play with. Include the tarot or card reading. Some people are afraid of the tarot and think that, oh, it's witchcraft and everything. Just because you don't understand it and because you've been told your whole life that things that you don't know about are evil doesn't mean it's true. These modalities have been used for centuries, some of them. But things like dream interpretation, oh my God, that's, how could that be wrong or evil? But meditation, of course, some people think meditation is giving your soul over to the devil. You're sitting there and you're doing the opposite. You're completely draining your mind of thought so that you can just be and replenish your batteries, and then when you've mastered that, you're able to contemplate things on a deeper level. So meditation is really important. Runes are a fun thing to use for fortune telling. Oftentimes it's very good, basic, down-to-earth knowledge, rather than you're a guided master, or you're a this or you're a that. I just love the runes. You carry them around in a pouch, and they're visceral, you feel them, and like I said, they're very natural, very earthy. The I Ching is an old divinatory tool, whether you use the coins or whether you use the pickup sticks or whatever you call them. Very interesting, and also very good about your nature and how you are with the world, and not so much with this is going to happen, that's going to happen, but this is a situation at the moment. It's very almost meditative, very stilling to the mind. So there's just a few different modalities that are really fun to play with, but also, like I mentioned before, creative visualization. If you want to do some path working, if you know, I've got to heal this rift with my father because, we don't talk anymore, or whatever, just doing that creative visualization. How could it go about? What would be a better way for me to communicate this? What will I do if he says this or she says that? Or where am I at the moment? I want to align myself with a totem animal. Whatever, creative visualization and path working really helps you play with the portals and learn more about yourself, and then maybe pave a pathway forward. I know this has been a little bit scattered, but I just wanted to share how I went through and learned about myself, the different modalities I used, and then coming up with my idea of my own mythology, which I have created. And this is to illustrate what this has all been for and what it's culminating in. and this could change as time goes on, but I wanted to share this with you after taking all this into consideration, the things in my life that are important to me, the things that I enjoy, have been channeled into the creation of my own mythology. My mythology, from the fiery past life of Scorpio to the cool, calm moon of Taurus, I strive to overcome the past while paving my way to the future. I am an author. I write to create worlds. I am a witch. I bring the darkness to the light. I am a numerologist. I create order out of chaos. I am a herbalist. I create my own medicine. I am a warrior. I draw from my fiery past to create the boundaries of protection and retribution. I am a healer, opening my heart to let the right ones in, to evolve and thrive. I am a portal stormer from Aletheia, and my name is Huxnum. And there's coming from the fires of Scorpio to the cooling waters of Taurus. Blessed be